Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to continue on with this week's theme of emo music. The best kind of music, obviously, just because it's so emotive and heart wrenching. It really does contain the entirety of the human condition in sonic quality. Today, we're going to be looking at a band called Death Cab For Cutie. Already has a pretty cool name. The title is called We Looked Like Giants. Let's see what Death Cab For Cutie is bringing to the table. Alright, they're retaining that rhythmic pattern of 1 and of 2 and of 3.
God bless the daylight, the sugary smell of springtime, remembering when you were mine in a still suburban town. When every Thursday,
Slightly driving ID on the left, chords on the right.
and you'd skip your early classes, and we'd learn how our bodies work. Goddamn the black night, with all its foul temptations, I've become what I always hated when I was with you. We looked like giants in the back of my gray subcompact, fumbling to make contact as the others slept inside. And together there in a
Really interesting production in that it's quite anemic on the low ends, but lacks the punch on the high ends. Very dreary atmosphere through all of this, though. A little muddy with that canon idea going on, but very neat to hear one.
And reading aloud from magazines. I don't know about you, but I swear on my name they could smell it on me. I've never been too good with secrets.
Interesting, adding in a static. Really sitting in this atmosphere as well, with the only movement being those two notes. They're really taking their time here, and I'm curious what the purpose of it is. Um, I wish I could make heads or tails of this. I really do. And I think that's just because I'm coming at it from the wrong point of view. And that this isn't really a song that's designed to be picked apart and analyzed as critically and as closely as I typically do. And it really is just there for the environmental element, the atmospheric element, the emotional element. You either connect with it on that emotional level or you don't, but there isn't a lot of things to pick through on a technical level. Sorry. Um what do we got going here? So musically, I think we should start there. We have two verses, a chorus, and a bridge to the outro. Um, it is unusually structured, which is interesting. Um, I do enjoy that a little bit more like a puzzle. Makes me want to go back to the beginning and give it another listen and see exactly if I can suss out the exact structure of the track. Because I went into it figuring it'd be like most emo pop stuff and kind of go along with that. Verse, chorus, bridge chorus, no different than yesterday's Sunny Day Real Estate. And it didn't. It kind of went in its own direction here. Caught me off guard, and I wasn't paying as close attention to the structure because of it. Um, Interestingly, with our verse, we don't really have a lot going on. We have, well, we should start with our intro. Start the intro. The entire foundation of the song is presented to us in this opening idea. We're presented our rhythmic structure, the backbone of the song. And it's that syncopated hit with dotted quarters where we have a hit on the downbeat of one, the and of two, and then the and of three. I think that's right. And it gives it this sort of displaced feeling where if you're feeling the track in four as it's presented to us a little bit after this, uh, once the guitars come in, drums take over more of a 4/4 feel. This feels like it pushes against that. We're getting three hits in four beats, so some of these feel a bit longer. There's this element of additional time being taken, of not pushing forward, of longing, anything like this, of anything that would present itself an idea of being stationary or not having the energy or want to proceed with something. And by itself, it's just a cadence. But once we get the 4/4 feeling in the snare and the bass, it presents us a new idea of lethargy. That's the only thing that I can read out of that rhythm, especially since it continues and persists on through the track, regardless of what anything else is doing. I think the only time I don't remember it was in the chorus. I don't even know if we can call it chorus. It's the big part though, where we had everything. It was the loudest moment. This rhythmic idea though is presented throughout the verse, and I think it's even presented there in the outro. That long outro section. Um, Through here though, we lead ourselves into the opening verse, and here we have our backbone idea presented in the bass, I believe. Our drums are giving us more of a standard 4/4 feel. We have a right guitar that is doing chords, and the left guitar was giving us a driving idea. Lots of eighth notes, constantly playing, not really many breaks. And this presented the foundation for our vocals to sit over. And these vocals were very clean. Um, I'm curious. So this was from their 2003 album. This comes a decade after yesterday's Sunny Day Real Estate track. And I had mentioned that that track gave me more grungy vibes in a few of the sections. And this, I think, is definitely more of what emo became. Like I said, I don't really know where that one sat in. I need to check the comments on that video for sure to get a little bit more context here. Um, but the idea that that track specifically feels like a midpoint between what would become, especially emo pop or pop emo, and what it seems to me took inspiration from grunge. And it was a midpoint between grunge and emo. This is fully emo. None of the grunge elements are here. There's no grittiness in the guitars, in the vocals specifically. I want to talk about those vocals right now. In that they remind me a lot of uh, top 40s male pop vocalists from the 2000s. Um, and there's a specific song or a specific vocalist that they reminded me of, and I can't quite think of what track it is, and I have no idea who the band is. Um, I can't even think of the. It's been, geez, years since I've heard this song, but as soon as I heard that vocal line and the vocal timbre, it popped right in my head. Um, but yeah, it's so far divorced from the vocals that we heard yesterday. And it's interesting just to hear the vocals go in this direction, where the rest of the music kind of retains a lot of that same moodiness that we heard, but the vocals have taken on a much cleaner, clearer presentation. There's a lot, I don't want to say better, but brighter production on them, where each enunciation, each syllable can be heard extremely clearly, even though the rest of the music is not always clean and clear. Like I said, it's a very pop direction to take the vocals. And in fact, I think that's going to lead me into the chorus here, because I think I talked about everything in the verse. There's nothing really special going on. It's just a bunch of instruments doing their own roles. Like I said, designed to evoke the emotion. It's a very dreary song, gloomy in a lot of sense. The chorus, though, I mentioned the production. I want to dive into that for just a second because once again, musically, there's not much I can speak about here. Everybody's just laying down chords, the drums just drumming, the vocals have a melody. I don't know what the bass was doing here because of the production. Um, so I mentioned that it's lacking the low end, but doesn't have the punch in the high end. Overall, it just feels very flat to me. But it feels like a divided flat. I can hear where the music is. The guitars and the drum, they're sitting down here. The vocals are up here. There's a very clear space between the two of them. But neither one of them are really powerful enough to be filling their roles. The vocals are in the spotlight, but they lack the not confidence because there's a lot of power behind them. I think it's a complete production thing. It has nothing to do with the performative aspect. It just lacks whatever that special magic is that producers put on lead tones to make them pop. It's missing that oomph factor. And I know I use oomph as like a very catch-all term for the extra 1%. You're at 99 and you want that 100%. That's the oomph, right? And it's usually because I don't it's production speak and I don't know enough about production to tell you exactly what's missing, but it's that little bit of extra magic that would make it pop, that would make it feel like those songs where the vocals just hit you right or where the bass feels perfect or where the song feels wide enough, right? It's whatever that little piece of production is that really makes the track perfect. That's the oomph. And here the vocals are missing it. It's missing that pop. They feel a bit flat, and I don't know if that's a dynamic thing. I don't know if it's been overly compressed, and that's it. But it just doesn't have the power to be separated from the band the way that it does. And then the band doesn't have the width or the low end. It doesn't really have the bass presence either to be a foundational aspect. It is, at least to my ears, EQ'd more like a lead element where it's designed to cut through everything, but it has nothing to cut through. So it ends up just feeling very focused and not wide, like narrow is what it ends up being. And you can't have a foundation that's narrow. You can't build things on top of something that is that lacks that width, because the width is what's going to give it the stability to hold up everything above it. It was a very interesting choice to go on there, and I don't know how much of that's, I mean, it's a 2020 video from the record label, so I'm going to assume that this is fairly close to the way it sounds. I mean, we got to take YouTube compression into the picture, but it's not like we're listening to a video from 2006 where YouTube's compression was, terrible, and we probably uploaded, a low bit rate 720p video or something. This is a brand new upload. Official audio from the record label, that's only 2 years old. Oh, geez, almost 2 years old to the date. Yeah. August 2020, or August 22 of 2020 was when this is uploaded. Almost to the date, this is 2 years old. The video, the uploading, of course, not the song. So yeah, I don't know how much weight I can put into it just being a poor upload. It feels like a very odd decision that for their biggest part, and it does feel like it should be big sonically. All of the instruments are together on a unified idea rather than them all being separate. I mentioned that the two guitars are doing their own thing, the bass is doing its own thing. That's the verse. It's a lot of singular ideas. They come together to present this bigger, larger concept, and the production just goes against it. It's not a great sound there unless the idea is weakness in numbers. You come together and the sound tanks for it. I don't know. It's a weird decision. And then, like I said, the vocals don't really sit above it the right way. Maybe if the lower end, or maybe if the foundation was widened out to actually be a strong foundation production wise, maybe the vocals would be fine and they wouldn't need a tweak. But the way that both of them are right there, it just feels like a very anemic section that to me, I think is supposed to be the big part. And on top of that, I even think that there's some compression, panning wise, where the soundscape shrinks a little bit to make the section sound bigger, because the chorus that comes before it and our outro both seem wider, even though they're not louder or more powerful. It just seems like the space opens up when we get to those sections. And I mean, it really does feel like it's supposed to be this big moment, and it does not come across as that to me. Um, but yeah, then we move from there into our outro, which takes like the whole 3 minutes of the track. Um, and I don't get this part. To me, it's a slow burn, but it lacks the components that I typically associate with slow burns doing interesting things, which is mostly layers. The purpose of, well, slow burns have two purposes. One is to see the process of building a section, and the other is to allow a section to be felt entirely and explored entirely. You just really reside within the emotion of that section for an elongated period of time. And that's what I feel like this one leans into, but the emotion of the section isn't any different than what we had heard prior. So to my ears, it's the same emotion just with less musical ideas within it, and it sort of just stagnates. It stagnates at the end of the track, which is just, it doesn't build towards anything. It just is there and then it peters out. And I mean, I guess it's telling a story. I don't know if the lyrics are going to work within that the framework that we have here. It does tell a story, including the odd production decision there for the big moment. There's an element of things tightening up, uh, being at peace, but longing for something. Maybe an acceptance of the longing. And then there's a tightening up of everything. And I don't know, like that just leads to the acceptance again. And maybe the tightening is a loss of the acceptance and having to deal with this longing for something else. And then the ending is just every day, just the mundanity of this want for something else. Um, like I said, it kind of comes together. I'm interested if the lyrics are going to support any of that, but that's the story it told me musically. I don't know that I would say that it told the story expertly. I do think the same tale could be told in a different manner and get the same point across, but at that point it wouldn't be "We Look Like Giants" by Death Cab for Cutie. So yeah, I'm just gonna say that this one bounced off of me. I think what they did well, and if you enjoy what they did, then this track is for you. It's not for me though. I can hear a song that I would enjoy better, that accomplishes many of the same musical themes, in a similar fashion. I wouldn't be changing too much, but there would be something going on in here because I had a few criticisms. Let's dive into the lyrics here and see if any of this is being presented in the lyrics, the lyrical themes. Um, God bless the daylight, the sugary smell of springtime, remembering when you were mine. In a still suburban town, when every Thursday I braved those mountain passes and you'd skip your early classes and we'd learn how our bodies worked. Okay, so there's definitely a longing here. We have memories of the past. Um, and it seems like this is triggered by the smell. The sugary smell of springtime has our narrator remembering when there was another person in their life. They lived in a small town, and on Thursdays they would skip class and explore each other. Learn how our bodies worked, which is how they worded it. It says, God damn the black night with its foul temptations. I've become what I've always hated when I was with you then. We look like giants in the back of my gray subcompact, fumbling to make contact as the others slept inside. Hmm. Okay, so I mean, from there, it looks like this relationship was not something that was always pleasant. It brought out the worst in this person. It says, I become what I've always hated when I was with you. The chorus comes in and says, and together there in a shroud of frost, the mountain air began to pass through every pane of weathered glass, and I held you closer than anyone would ever guess. Hmm. Okay. Uh, our final verse says, do you remember the JAMC and reading aloud from magazines? I don't know about you, but I swear on my name they could smell it on me, but I've never been too good with secrets. And that's it. Um, so I don't know. Other than that one line about becoming what I've always hated, everything else just seems to be positive reminiscing about a past relationship that seemed to have been kind of focused on the physical, or at least this person's only primarily remembering the physical. At least that's how I read it. Verse 1, we have the line, and we learn how our bodies worked. Verse 2, we have the line, fumbling to make contact. We look like giants in the back of my car, fumbling to make wait, subcompact. That's not a car, is it? I don't know. Anyways, they're in the back of some place, fumbling to make contact. I think that's another sex metaphor. And then verse 3, I'm kind of guessing here because of the theme we have going so far. I don't know about you, but I could swear they could smell it on me. And I've never been too good with secrets. And it does seem like they were doing this in secret. They skipped school. They hid out in the back of this subcompact. And here they were physical at the JAMC. I don't know what that is. It reminds me of YMCA, which is something we have around here, which is a gym, basically. Um, so yeah, I'm going to guess that the sexual component of the relationship was a secret. Talking about skipping classes, I mean, this could easily be like a high school sort of situation. Um, and yeah, to me, it's just a sort of a positive reminiscing of an early relationship that might have been as they were just developing puberty, and they may have been each other's first, and this is just sort of that remembrance of it, which could be why it focuses so much on the physical component of the relationship more so than anything else. Um, as for the music, though, I mean, I can kind of see, because this is reminiscing, right? So there's going to be this longing aspect. The emotions certainly tie into that. I think the emotional landscape of this track is certainly one drenched in memory. Definitely a pensiveness to the entire song. And maybe the entire outro section is just that, because that's what memory is, especially when you get lost in your memory. And you just kind of zone out for a little bit and you snap back to reality and oops, there goes gravity. No, you come back to reality though, and time has just passed. What have you been doing? You've just been staring at a wall. You have literally been making no movement, and it's sort of just, at least how I see it, is just the passing of time as you reminisce. Um, but maybe that's not what they're going for. I honestly don't know. I mean, like I said, there's so much about this song that I kind of see the purpose of, but I don't it doesn't work with me. It just kind of bounces off me, and that's why I'm having a tough time kind of relating any of this back, because I do kind of see similar vibes throughout, but I don't really see a one-to-one relationship other than just the emotion really being spot on here. So, those are my thoughts on Death Cab for Cuties. We looked like giants. This is where you guys come in. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you thought of this track, anything that stood out to you, anything you'd like to correct me on or add on to what I said. Go ahead and drop those ideas down there. Above that, if you could head into the description box, in there's a link for Linktree. Takes you to this menu right here. It has links for everything related to the channel. You can submit your own special selections, support the channel through Patreon, follow me on Twitter, join the Discord community, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. All right, that wraps that one up. We have a special selection coming up next. Otherwise, be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC, as usual. We're going to be continuing on with this emo week and look at another special selection. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos.